In this video, we're going to look at the math of master production scheduling. We'll start by defining what you see on the screen, and then we'll take you through the math. So in the bottom left here, we see our production is in lot sizes of 70. We have a demand fence of 2 periods. So we're going to put a line right here as our demand fence. And the reason we care about that is from a process standpoint, typically anything within the demand fence we define as the frozen zone, and no changes are allowed. What that means from a master scheduling standpoint then is anything within the demand fence, we're going to go with customer orders only, not forecast. Because the zone is frozen, no changes are allowed, no additional orders are going to come in. Outside the demand fence, to the right of the demand fence, we use the greater of forecast or customer orders. So if you ask why, I would suspect the reasoning is we're planning for the most conservative position. So if we look at period 3, we'll go with a forecast of 30 instead of 10 because more orders could come in. This is typically called the slushy zone, so changes are allowed. We could get more orders in. Let's plan for 30 then, just in case to be cautious. If we look at period 4, let's say instead of 7 orders, we had 37. We'd go with the 37. Again, we're trying to be cautious or conservative and say, well, we're not going to tell the customer the extra 7 that we're not going to take their order because they didn't forecast for it. We're going to go with the 37 and plan accordingly. It's a whole nother discussion why we would take more customer orders than we forecasted, but that's the way the math would work. We'd use the greater of forecast or customer orders. Okay? So let's get this out of the way and let's put our 7 back in here. Okay. So forecast, prediction of future demand. Customer orders are the actual orders that come in to consume the customer order or the forecast. PAB is projected available balance. So this is saying at the end of a period, after all supplies and demands are considered, what is the balance that we project to be available at the end of the period? This 40 you see up front here this is what we're starting with, 40 on hand. Master production schedule is what we're going to build in response to the supply versus demand conversation, which we'll take you through. And available to promise, which we'll show you last, is a tool we use to make promises to the customer. So let's take you through the math as we go through it here. We're starting out with 40 on hand, okay? And we'll see in period 1 we have customer orders for 10, so we're down to 30. Period 2, we're going to need another 25 of those 30, so we're down to 5. When we look at period 3, we have the 5, and we need a potential of 30 since we're going with greater of forecast and customer orders. So we have 5, we need 30, we're 25 short, so we're going to have to schedule a receipt of 70 pieces in period 3. So we have 5, I'll do this on the left, we're building another 70, so we've got 75 to work with, and potentially we could need 30. So we'll have 45 left over. And then in period 4, we're going to need 30 of those 45, so we're down to 15. Period 5, we have 15. We need 30, so we're short 15. So we better get another 70 in. So then we'll have 55 left over. Period 6, we have 55. We need 30, we're down to 25. And then period 7, we have 25 and we need 30, so we're 5 short. We better build it and get in another 70. We're down to 65. And then in period 8, we need 30 of those 65, so we're down to 35. So now let's look at the available to promise. I'm going to get rid of this line here real fast. Available to promise is saying by definition, at simplest, we could say leftover from build to build. So if we look at this 40 we have on hand, it has to last until the next build of 70. The 70 we're going to receive in period 3 has to last until period 5 comes to stock. The 70 in period 5 has to last until the 70 comes in period 7. Now, when we're looking at leftover from build to build, we're talking about customer orders. Where master production schedule, we schedule based on forecast and customer orders. We're trying to prepare for what could be. Available to promise looks at what is today. So it's only interested in customer orders so we can make effective promises to the customer. So we have this 40 on hand. We have actual customer orders for 10 plus 25. So we have demands for 35 of the 40 we have on hand. Therefore, we have 5 left over or available to promise from the 40 on hand. The next build of 70 in period 3, has to cover orders for 10 plus 7. Do we have a forecast for 60 total in those 2 rounds or 2 periods? Absolutely. But we're only looking at actual customer orders so we can make promises to the customer. So out of that 70, I have orders for 17 or 53 left out of that 70 available to promise to customers. Period 5, I have 70 available. I have actual orders for 15. So out of that build, 55 are available to promise. And out of the last 70, I have orders for 14 and 56 are available to promise. So what that means from a customer order standpoint is if I call you up and say, ooh, I'd like 70 of these, how fast could I get those? You can say, well, I can give you 5 right away. I've got 5 left over from this build that's uncommitted. I can give you another 53 in period 3, and the balance of that, the 12 pieces, can come out of the build in period 5. And then we can start the conversation with the customer, knowing that we haven't double promised anything, and we can see if this grouping of 5, 53, and 12 will work. And if not, then we go into managing from a process standpoint what we can make promises to the customer. Okay? So that's the math of available to promise and master scheduling.